Alrighty, something a little bit different today. I'm here with my girlfriend. Hello, girlfriend. This is her bike, a Honda CBR250R. I also ride the bike from time to time, so we're going to co-review the bike. We've both been riding for a year or so only, so hopefully this will give you a new rider's perspective and a female rider's perspective. 2 for 1.
Alright guys, so this is my bike. It's a CBR250R 2011 model. I'm very fond of this bike. I've had it for about 6 months now. I've done about 2,000 kilometres on it. In addition to the 2,000 kilometres that I've done on it, I've already had a stack as well, embarrassingly so. You could probably see some of the little scratches here and there that I've brought up as part of my, what would you say, war scars? Battle scars?
We're not going to spend too much time on the specs because you can look them up online, but some quick headline numbers.
So this bike is about 249 cc, it's fuel injected. It's about 24 horsepower. Just to give you an idea of how it sounds, I'll give it a little rev.
So the front suspension is a 37mm non-adjustable fork. I'd describe the ride as soft but adequate. It's sporty, but you don't feel every bump through your spine.
This particular model doesn't actually have ABS, which is probably one of the things that came to my undoing when I did actually have my first stack on the bike. Boyfriend's bike has ABS on it.
The seat height's nice and low. It's 780 mils or about 31 inches, which means if you're anything over about 5'3", you should be able to put your feet down. My girlfriend is 5'11", and she can put her feet down on this bike, no problems.
The bike itself is about 150 kilograms dry. It's super light, it's easy to maneuver. If you have a stack, you could probably pick it up yourself.
The dash is pretty basic, but it does the trick. You got an analog tacho you can see here, and you got a fuel gauge, which is a nice touch. You've also got a couple of trip meters to cycle through.
Okay, that's it for the basic overview. Let's take it for a ride and talk about what we like. Okay, this bike. It's light. It's easy to maneuver. It's fun. Woo! And it's been a really easy ride for me in terms of my first bike. I mean, what can I say about riding? I'm very new to it. It's not incredibly powerful either, so it doesn't feel like it's an overwhelming bike. And for me that was fairly important as well, because I didn't want to get a bike that, ooh, wrong gear. I didn't want to get a bike that was going to scare the shit out of me.
Okay, another thing we like about this bike is the fact that it's fuel injected. And that might not sound like a big deal, but for a learner, it's just one less thing you have to worry about. You know, you can start it cold, get straight on it and start riding it. So that's a big tick for us. I will say this as well, I do like the eagerness of the engine. So it doesn't have a lot of torque like we were saying before, but it's got enough speed to keep you going on the highway, to get you out of trouble. It's perfectly adequate. Especially if it's your first bike, this is going to be enough power for you. So you can see I'm doing 90 kilometers an hour now, and it'll happily sit like this for as long as you want. And it's got a bit of acceleration if you need to pick up. And then you can see if I drop it into top gear, it'll purr along at 5,500 RPM. No problem at all. So another thing we like about this bike is the comfort. You lean forward a little bit, but the handlebars are nice and upright, so it's a pretty comfortable seating position. The foot pegs are also nice and low, so that rider triangle is really comfortable. That windscreen does a really good job of keeping the air off your face as well, so all in all, pretty comfortable. Hit it, girlfriend. Now this is not somewhere you will be visiting very often on your Honda CBR250R. This thing is extremely good on fuel. We're getting about 30 kilometers per litre out of it, which means even on this tiny tank, you're getting like a good 300 kilometers of range for the price of like a sandwich. It's ridiculously good, so that's a big tick.
I think one of the things that I find challenging about it is, initially it was actually the gear shifts that took a while for me to get used to. When I first learned how to ride, it was on a CBR250R, and the 125 has the added extra of actually telling you what gear you're actually in. And for a first-time rider, I think that's pretty important. In terms of vibrations, I guess, I do feel it after a while. So let's say I've been riding for about an hour or so. I feel the tingles all the way through my fingers. And to a certain extent, my helmet actually starts to hurt as well. But, look, how often am I riding it over an hour? Not that often at all.
The only other thing I've noticed, just something to be aware of, the bike's got quite a narrow front tyre. So if there's a groove in the road and you don't have a firm grip on the handlebars, it can kind of snatch you into the groove a little bit. It's not dangerous as long as you've got a proper grip on the handlebars. It won't give you any drama, but it's just something to be mindful of.
Alright, verdict. So the CBR250R, great little bike to start your motorcycling life in. Certainly not an intimidating bike. It's very cheap to buy. So if you don't like the bike after you've learnt how to ride it, you can sell it to someone else. I love the little bike, it's great. I think I'm going to be very sad when I have to move on and buy something with higher CCs. And it's a great first bike because it's cheap and effective. Gets me around.
Now one other thing to note, since this bike came out, Honda's updated it to the CBR300R. So would I get a 250R or a 300R? If you've got tons of cash, yeah sure, go get a 300R. But I would say if it's your first bike, just get a 250R and put that extra money towards fuel and tyres. Another thing worth mentioning, if you do decide on a 300R, with the 300R they also introduced a model called the 300F, which is the same bike underneath, but it's a naked bike with the nice high handlebars. So if you're interested in the 300R but you don't want the sports bike style, you've also got the option of the 300F now, which didn't exist when this bike came out. If you have any questions about anything we've said or something we didn't mention, hit us up in the comments below. Hope you found the review useful and thanks for watching.